talking about technology and food system transformation through maker spaces. We are hosting here at Fab Lab Barcelona and the Food Tech 3.0 Food Shift Accelerator Lab. And we are very excited to be here today with some phenomenal speakers. As some of you may know, we have been working over the past months to combine knowledge with different communities. And now these webinars are sort of a result of these conversations. So we had a first webinar around community. This time we will have one on technology. The next will be on business. And in each of these webinars, we invite a series of speakers to join us and present on their innovations and initiatives that have to do with the topic of the day in a pecha kucha format, which means that they have to present 20 slides with only 20 seconds per slide. So the idea is that we get a fast and concise overview of the initiatives, and then it's up to us to explore more. But it's a challenging way for innovators to present themselves, but very rich in terms of content. So we're very thankful for our innovators for adapting to this context. A bit about the agenda today, and also, hello, I'm Sally Borden. I am your moderator for today. So today we will have first an introduction by Gabriela Perez, who is the leader of the Food Tech 3.0 Food Shift 2030 Accelerator Lab. And Gabby will give us a little bit of context and help us understand makerspaces as scenarios for the transformation of the food system. And then we will dive into our Pecha Kucha presentations, first with Gaia Di Martino from the New Production Institute. Then we have Veronica Arcas, who is representing Tectum Garden. And last but certainly not least, we have Knife Factory with Silvana Catasini and Josean Vilar. After that, that will be about 25 minutes of presentation. We'll have 15 minutes dedicated to questions and answers, followed by a recap and a what's happening next. So, and just a bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, thoughts, please feel free to put them into the chat. If you're having technical troubles, you can write directly to our amazing tech assistant, Gwenda, or you can just put it directly into the chat. And please keep off your mics and your cameras off as well. With that, I'm happy to turn the word over to Gabby. Gabby, can you take it from there?
Thank you, Sally, for the introduction. And welcome everybody to our webinar, Transforming our Food System from Technology, from the perspective of the makerspace. Yes, the first slide. Thank you. In this space, we would like to go deeper into the maker space and how this creativity space are catalysts for innovation and food technology. But first, I would like to mention that this webinar takes place into the framework of the Food Shift 2030 project, which focuses on increasing the technological and social readiness levels of food system innovation in 9 cities across Europe. The next slide, please. Thank you. But how? By identifying, maturing, and scaling citizen-led innovation in local communities that responds to social and environment challenge. In our case, from Fab Lab Barcelona, an academy and makerspace where we developed the Food Tech 3.0 concept that follow 5 pillars: community-based and empowered by citizens, holistically regenerative, provide positive environmental, social, and economic outcomes, employ open design and open source practice, allowing for replication, foster equity and ecosystem. The next slide, please. But what is a makerspace and what is the role of the makerspace in the food technology innovation? In digital age, technology is transforming all aspects of our lives, and the world of the food is no exception. Makerspaces are the spaces for collaborative creation and experimentation and have emerged as meeting places to explore new ideas and develop innovative solutions in various fields. In this webinar, we want to explore the fascinating intersection between makerspace and food technology. We will discover how these creative communities are innovating the way for produce, consume, and and enjoy the foods. We explore the emerging technologies that are driving in transformation, such as 3D food printer with Gaia Di Martino from the new Production Institute on the food and on one of the enabled food lab of the Food Chip 2030 project. Another is food biotechnology and hydroponics with Veronica Arcas from Tectum, one of our innovators in the Food Chip 2030 project also. And the creation of the biomaterials by Silvana Catacine and Josean Vilar, also innovators of the Food Sheet 2030 project. The next slide, please. Thank you. I would like to comment that for the organization of this webinar and into the framework of the Food Ship 2030 project, we had the collaboration for 4 wonderful makerspace and food-enabled labs of the Food Ship 2030 project. Ars Longa in Paris, Open Dot in Milan, and the New Production Institute and Helmut Schmidt University in Hamburg. The next slide, please. These maker spaces with Fab Lab Barcelona and 1,750 labs around to the world are innovation in the food system. If you are tech enthusiastic or you are a food entrepreneur or just someone who is interested in the future of food, this webinar will provide you a value information and unique perspective on how the maker movement is influenced in food industry and how you can be part of this revolution. We are expected to have all you here, and I hope this webinar will be a source of inspiration and learning for all participation. Get ready to dive into the exciting world of the maker space and the food technology. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gabby. And I think one other thing to add is it's not just the maker spaces, it's the makers, which are this incredible group of people that we have here that are making not only in traditional spaces, but in their own spaces as well. I know like with Josean and Silvana have their phenomenal space in Vilasar de Mar. And so making can be very distributed as well. It can be happening in so many different contexts, in so many different places. And we're excited to see this variety of where making is happening here today as well. So first up, we have Gaia Di Martino. Gaia is representing the New Production Institute, which emerged from the interdisciplinary research group Value Creation of the Laboratory for Production Engineering at Helmut Schmidt University in Hamburg. As a think tank for the future of value creation and value production, the experts of the New Production Institute are involved in various projects that address the transformation of value creation systems in the context of new possibilities for networking and production in times of digital transformation. In particular, the focus is on the implementation of openness and new modes of value creation, open innovation, open design, open production, and open source. Gaia, it's a pleasure to have you with us today, and I will pass the word over to you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Hello, everyone. I am Gaia Di Martino, and I am a PhD student at the Helmut Schmidt University for the New Production Institute in Hamburg, and I am also currently working at the project Fab City Hamburg. My background is in chemical and sustainable processes engineering, and I am specialized in food processing and polymeric materials, and I have experience with food 3D printing. Today, I am going to present my idea for my PhD, for the project for my PhD. Here is where we start, apples. Due to my studies, I started thinking about all the waste around the apple production and juicing. So I wonder, and to be honest, I wasn't the first one, is it possible to use the bio-waste to create ecological polymeric materials? And I proposed this as the idea for my PhD topic. So the choice was driven by the fact that apples are one of the most China, USA, and Turkey are the main producer, with China being producing almost half of the world production. And the juice is extracted everywhere for several uses like apple ciders and vinegar. And although it's very hard to have precise numbers when it comes to this topic, food waste and loss, it is estimated that 20 million tons of apples are lost before arriving to the consumers, meaning also in the processing, like juicing, and between 1/4 and 1/3 of fresh food is wasted, and apples are not different. So what's left after juicing is a mix of peel, cores, seeds, and flesh, and water. I have chosen I chose a nice picture with dried apple pomace for the presentation, but in general, it's very bad looking. It's wet. It becomes brown and it ferments very easily because there is a lot of water and a lot of sugar, which bacteria really like it. So traditionally, apple pomace is disposed by landfilling, which may seem a good solution for apples since they are biodegradable. But as said, apple pomace ferments very easily and produces methane, which is a very strong greenhouse gas, and acid compounds that contaminate underground water. Another way of disposing is incinerating, which is safer regarding the growth of bacteria, which can be a risk for our health, and there is not production of methane, but there is the production of another greenhouse gas, meaning CO2, along with other pollutants. So it becomes clear that both methods are far from optimal. Apple pomace is also used to feed animals, but this solution cannot be used to dispose of all the apple pomace produced. In fact, since it perishes very quickly, it is impossible to store it and to feed it when needed. It is estimated that the majority of waste is incinerated or goes to landfill, and only 20% is used in alternative ways. Next slide, please. So this is the alternative way, biofuels. It is exploited due to the high fermentability. But some scientists pointed out that in most cases, the energy and resources required to produce biofuels are higher than the one we get back. So I started thinking about the idea of using chemistry and engineering to find innovative ways to use and not to dispose of the pomace. Through the chemistry, we can find way to extract those elements and compounds in the apple pomace that can be useful, and we can characterize them and study their properties. And by knowing their properties, we can think of application and uses. And with the engineering, we can optimize the process of extraction and maybe make it even industrially interesting. And the role of engineering is also to modify what's extracted and the products made with them to give them high functionality for the chosen purpose. Another role of the engineering is to experiment with the uses of the products. And I keep using the word products, not to spoil the next slide, but I will now explain what I mean and what the idea is. Apples are rich in pectin. Oh, can you go back for a second? Thank you. In pectins and dietary fibers, and the apple pomace even more so because a lot of water is extracted. And so the goal of my research is to extract these elements. The next one, please. And the idea is to explore different uses of these waste, including cardboard made with apple pomace without extraction of a specific compound to make maybe food packaging and polymeric foam using also the elements in the apple pomace. But for me, the most interesting part of this research idea is the use of the extracted dietary fiber to create fiber-reinforced biopolymers using a bio-based polymer like PLA or starch polymer, or even bio-produced polymers like BHA and the fibers. To me, it's very, next slide, please. It's very important to find different materials to use in this way. So my question are, is it possible to use byproducts of the food industries that are traditionally considered waste to design and produce high-performance polymers? Is it possible to fabricate a plastic material that finds application in the digital manufacturing field? And can this lead to less environmental impact? It is my intention to experiment with the materials created and to use them with digital fabrication technology. Maybe it can be laser cut and we can make mechanical parts with it if it's strong enough. Maybe we can mold it to make silverware that is not only biodegradable, but it can be even potentially eaten by animals, so it doesn't stay in the environment. Or maybe we can simply 3D print it, and here the applications are endless. If the material is strong and easy to be printed, it could be used for hobbystic art, mechanics. It could be in the form of filament, or it could be even in the form of resin that is cured by light, or it could be food 3D printable material. So I am very passionate about apples. Honestly, I didn't like them very much before starting reading about apples so much and all the compounds they have that are also very good for our health. And since then I started craving apples. So I finished by wishing us all to eat a lot of apples, waste not too much, and to find use to use what's impossible not to waste innovatively. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gaia. Fantastic presentation and really interesting the different uses that you are already foreseeing with the apple pomace and the different technologies that you can employ to use it. It's going to be very interesting to see how your thesis continues to develop and the different uses that you find for this product. So we'll definitely have to stay tuned to see what you get up to next. Thank you. So our next speaker is Veronica Arcas. Veronica is representing Tectum Garden, a Catalan company created in 2020 that was born with the aim of moving towards a more sustainable and local food production model. Born from the Sostenipra research group of the Institute of Environmental Science and Technology of the Autonomous University of Barcelona, which some of you might know as ICTA at the UAB, they are specialists in urban agriculture and have very diverse backgrounds to provide interdisciplinary responses to the challenges of moving towards more sustainable cities. Veronica, thank you so much for being with us today, and please take it away.
Thank you very much. So as Sally said, I'm going to present Tectum Garden. It's a spin-off business that started in 2020, and that stems from the research group Sostenipra in UAB. And we are focused on implementing urban agriculture. Yeah. Next slide, please. So we are a very interdisciplinary group. We are almost all of us researchers from the same research group, and there are different backgrounds that we bring into the group, that is biologists, agronomists, chemical engineers, and so on. So the aim is to integrate urban agriculture in cities as a tool to increase their circularity, especially focusing on the use of resources, and not only focusing on agriculture as a ends of production, but also to meet society, so the people. So this is the goal, to take a conventional system like we see on the left side of an urban ecosystem where we see inputs and outputs, and to create more synergies when we integrate agricultural systems. So our knowledge, we get it from our research. We work on different researches, as you see, very interdisciplinary, with nutrients, social values, organic matter, water, and energy, which is some pillars that we then bring back to urban agriculture, and we base the work that we do on the studies that we make and that we read. So this is the ICTA building. This is where the research group is based. And if you focus on the fourth floor, you will see that there's a greenhouse. And this greenhouse, you can put the next slide. This greenhouse is where we do the experiments that we then publish as a research group. And here's where Tectum appeared, or where the business was created, because from here we shift to our current projects that we have right now in Barcelona and so on. So the first project I wanted to talk about is one that we have since we started. It's a collaboration with the Institute of Disabled People in Barcelona City Council. They have 6 rooftop gardens and one garden in the ground. And we do the maintenance for all of these gardens, and we show people how to plant and how to work in hydroponic agriculture. One of the gardens that we designed from scratch and that we built is one located in Glorias, in the Plaza Las Glorias, where we also use the building next to the garden to do some symbiotic work. Here, the red building is where we harvest the water, and we have some PV panels to feed the garden, the hydroponic garden next to it. Since it's a social project and we try to teach people what they have to do with the garden, they plant everything. They plant the trees and the vegetables that they are going to harvest then after. So we teach them everything from start to end. Other projects that we have are with restaurants. We built rooftop gardens on top of restaurants, so they can harvest their own products, and that they can use it in their kitchens. And one of them is the Restaurante Escrivá in Girona. And this is a picture of the garden of this restaurant, where you can pick your own lettuce and eat it in the restaurant directly. Another of our projects is with canteens for companies. There are some companies that want to do something different as a leisure for their workers. So we provide a garden, and we also do sometimes the maintenance of these gardens, so they can harvest their own lunch or do a team building activity. I also have some pictures of this garden with some of the products that I have been having in the last year. We also do other projects with, you can skip, we also have other projects with other research groups like Cetagua and Veolia. They work with IWASA Barcelona, and they have a module called Free Green. It's a project of them where they try to use regenerated water from wastewater treatment plants to grow vegetables. They asked for us to build a modular and transportable greenhouse to then show the results to different municipalities in different areas of Barcelona. Other projects that we have with other companies are Quetal, which is a furniture company for indoor furniture. And we are trying to bring the vegetables not only from to the outside of buildings, but also to the inside to produce not only vegetables, but also general green to have it, maintain it in greener spaces indoors. We also still collaborate with the research group, and we try to do more innovation with the products that we have. For instance, we are building different prototypes to do smart irrigation. We have a project with Sostenibra where we are trying to create modules for small spaces like urban agriculture, and build different prototypes to include in these type of gardens where it's smaller areas where you cannot install bigger panels for irrigation, but other prototypes. So thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope it was an interesting presentation. And if you have any questions or whatever, you can contact us through this address. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Veronica. I really liked being able to see the many different places, and not only places where you're implementing Tectum Garden, but the different uses that you have for urban agriculture. Many times I feel like we hear just no productive, but there's, or we hear the other side, no, social. And you are showing that there's really a way for these to meet in the middle, and that urban agriculture can have many different uses, and also many different ways of how it presents itself, no? Like inside, outside, beds, all different types of ways. So thank you so much for that. Now we're going to have our last presentation, also from Barcelona. We have Silvana Catasini and Josean Villar, who are the founders of Factory Lab. Factory Lab is a transdisciplinary creative studio specialized in eco-design strategies and sustainable solutions to promote circular economy among creative industries. Factory offers its know-how in research and innovation of biomaterials elaborated in its laboratory, taking advantage of local resources and collaborating with social labor. So Josean and Silvana, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. No, do you hear us?
Yes, perfect. We don't see you though. Is your camera on?
Yeah, it says I'm not allowed. I don't know why.
Okay, give us 1 second then to try to fix that.
Not
Gwenda?
possible to, I don't know why. Because the host was, I think you have to do something.
Okay, let's see if we can fix that. Gwenda, can you see about permitting their video?
Yes, just give me a second.
Sure, take your time.
Okay.
Sorry, no, it's fine.
Okay. All right,
You
go
see?
ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Silvana Catasini, and together with Josean, we are Factory Lab founders. We develop biomaterials for design applications, and today we are going to explain one of our products. The story starts in your city, Barcelona. As you may know, the city that hosts hundreds of different events during the year, and also has lots of bars and restaurants. But the other side of the story is the amount of waste left behind, either from the events and the food industry. And could you connect both problems to find a common solution?
So this is how we started to figure out an idea of combining this waste to transform it into materials that could solve the necessity, the needs of graphic communications in events, which is one of the most, the more amount of waste from these congresses and fairs and so on. So circular biomaterial communication, which name is CBCO, is the name of this project that started in 2021. And yeah, is a product that tries to solve all these problems and also has these benefits, about reducing the amount of polluting materials that cannot be recycled after the events. And also it values the organic waste that is generated in city locally. And the idea is also to connect local agents like social labor, for instance, and the food industry actors as well, and also the organizers of events, and have a waste that can regenerate the environment after the use of it. So this is how it works. It starts with the waste that we can get also from farmers or restaurants and so on. And this organic waste can always go to compost, or it can be transformed into biomaterials that we can apply graphic design, and with the help of social labor, we can transform into panels that we can engrave with using laser technology to make the graphic communication for the event, and then we can you can set these panels, and then after the event we can take them back and remelt them to make new materials, or again it can go to the compost. So these are some images of the first experimentations that we did, trying to get the good parameters for the laser engraving and also the transparency of the materials and different kinds of frames, wooden frames. And then it came the first opportunity to work in a real project in collaboration with the Design Hub here in Barcelona. So what we did was a project using taking advantage of some of the actors that we had in the same neighborhood of the design hub. And then we could solve the whole process of production, from creating the materials to engraving them, and then make an exposition. No, it wasn't an exposition. In fact, it was more like a signal for the, you can go to the next slide. It was taking the waste from the cafeteria of the museum, and then we dried this waste and we made the biomaterials, and after we engraved these biomaterials to create these posters, these signals that were distributed around the building. You can go to the next one, showing some strategies to be more sustainable inside, using the building, in terms of water and waste inside as well, and controlling the temperature and so on. So this was like the first test we did, which was nice because we got some success, but also some things that we had to solve. And it was in this next project where we had the chance to solve these problems more in terms of how we were going to attach the system to the walls and so on. So we did for this other building of the city council here in Barcelona as well, these signals as well to using still some coffee that we had from the previous project. You can go to the next one. And that were also set up in the building, and showing its ideas of being more sustainable using the building in the everyday life. So, and this is another project that we did lately. It was for this festival for families, and we wanted to create like an interactive installation with the system in order to make possible for families to know this material, to know this technology, and be able to play with it. So we created this playful space with some help of no, you can go to the next one. With the help of social labor, with these 4 women that helped us to produce all the panels. And it was a very nice experience as well to see how they were like empowered, feeling that they were helping for a new project and an innovation to be applied in a real situation. So you can go to the next one and you can see more or less the space that we created out of these panels with different sizes that were fitable between, and kids were able to construct like a different ephemeral spaces with these textures that were communicating the material, what it was made of, from coffee grounds to orange peels, or to cochinilla, or to turmeric, and so on. And finally, we had this last project that we've done last month here as well in the Design Hub Museum here in Barcelona. This is an exposition about fashion for body diversity, and they asked us to make these panels that were going to explain all the pieces that were going to be exposed in this exposition. So we worked with the client's needs about colors and textures, and we used, you can go to the next one. And we used turmeric to make this orange shade that they were asking for us, and also some other food colorants to make the other purple color. And this was the biggest pieces we've done until today. There were some pieces that were 3 meters long, so it's quite big. And if you can see in the next, or in the previous, maybe it was in the previous, you could see on the left, you can see the laser engraving machine with this 3 meter long piece being engraved. And it was very nice to see that the quality of the material, it really reaches what they were expecting in the museum, and they are really rigid about this. So now we have validated definitely this system, and we are able to do almost everything with this. from framed posters or without frame. So it's really open to different possibilities. And yeah, that's the moment where the project is, and next steps are going to be shown as fast as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you both so much for being with us here today and for sharing what Nye Factory has been up to recently. It's really incredible to see that you've been able to make formats that go up to 3 meters in length. That's just wow. Wow. Congratulations. And to also see the many different processes that you're working with, and not just thinking about how to work with like laser engraving, but also how can these pieces be playful? How can they incorporate and be interactive installations? There's really just so much that goes into that. And thank you so much for sharing, both of you. So
we
now...
didn't have the time, but no, I was just going to say that today, this installation that we did in the other festival is being used in the Primavera Sound Festival today and until Sunday. We couldn't bring some pictures of this because it's going on in the same moment, but so it's being used as well.
That's phenomenal, because I think sometimes we see, yeah, this is like, wow. I think sometimes people think, especially with biomaterials, oh, it's new. Well, it's not new. It's actually ancient, but is now being more reinvestigated. And I had recently a friend say, yeah, but like, what is actually the place in the market for this, and can you use it? And the two of you are showing that yes, it absolutely has a place in architecture and ephemeral architecture and graphic design, and that there are very real use cases. So congratulations again. That's very exciting about Primavera Sound. And now we're going to pass to the next section. So hopefully we'll get some participation from the audience. We have our questions and answers. So once again, we have our speakers, Gaia Di Martino from the New Production Institute, Veronica Arcas from Tectum Garden, and Silvana Catazzini and Josean Villar from Nye Factory. Yes, thank you all for turning on your cameras. And let's see if we have some questions from the audience. Oh, nice. Okay, so our first question is for Gaia. Thank you for showing us all of these interesting ways to reuse food waste, in this case with the apple. My question is, are we prepared for this technology? That is to say, what does the city environment require to adapt to this type of technology to everyday life?
So this is still too early to say, because it's still, I think, a new topic, although the Nye Factory is doing a good job with that too. So I cannot answer to this question, but I think the first thing we should do is to make people more sensitive to food waste, and like to put it aside and save it to use it otherwise, instead of just throwing it away. This is the main thing I think cities should do. So maybe, I don't know, campaigns for sensibilization or something like that.
Josean and Silvana, do you want to add anything to that, as you've also been in this process of using food waste?
Yes, I think I agree with Gaia, and I think that maybe before putting the focus on organic waste, which is something that we should definitely use, is putting the focus on what we should not use. And then by eliminating what we should not use, then we will discover that we have organic waste. You know, by eliminating what is wrong is how we will get to the solution. Because sometimes if you want to contrast, if you put, no, let's use organic waste instead of, say, plastics. The people don't understand this because they know, but plastics, they have better performance. Yeah, but you should see not only the performance, but also all the other problems. And those problems are the matter why we should not use plastics, you know? And I think this is very important as well, not to focus only on what we should use, but we should not use. You want to add something? So that was pretty much it.
Okay. So part of these maybe sensitivity trainings could be on this, but also more research, no? On what materials we shouldn't use, or maybe not research, because we have this information, we've had that information, but being able to really show the public, especially, and maybe show municipalities, this is why these aren't working, and this is why biomaterials, for example, are viable solutions. So
Yeah, both things at the same time, no?
Yeah, in parallel, definitely not mutually exclusive. So our next question is for Veronica. So you mentioned that you've worked with the IMPD, and so with groups of people that have disabilities, and with these types of emerging technologies like hydroponics and aquaponics. I'm just trying to understand the question. One moment, please. Okay, I'm not sure I understand the question's wording.
Maybe read it as it is.
Yeah,
Maybe.
okay. Okay, so you mentioned the experience of working with people with disabilities and this type of emerging technologies. I mean, I understand that they are very helpful to develop various skills. Do you think we can expose this type of practice, and what would be necessary to achieve it?
To expose this type of, to bring this type of practice to other municipalities?
I think that's what I think I was understanding. That's what I wasn't sure about. But yes, if you want to answer from that perspective, that would be great.
So the good thing about this type of structures like hydroponic is that for rooftops, which is the location where most of them are, it's a very efficient and cleaner way to produce, so that there doesn't have to be soil on the rooftop, which could be more problematic for the water reuse or the pest control or changing or for fertilization. So what the good thing about hydroponics as it is that we can reuse all the water that we are providing to the garden. So we have recirculation systems, which would not be as easy in soil-based. Soil-based on the floor, of course, makes sense, but maybe not as much on a rooftop of an old building in Barcelona, which could be heavier and could be more problematic with leaching of water or so on. And also for these type of collectives of these type of people, it's they, depending on the disability, sometimes don't like to get dirty. It's also very easy manually to visualize what they have to do, because it's the perlite or it's the substrate and the plant, and not as much weeding or any other things that they might confuse or whatever. So it's easier for them, as well as also for people that have difficulties with mobility, that move around with a wheelchair, for example. The height of the table where the crops are in hydroponic systems can be easier to reach than on the floor, on the ground. So they're interesting systems to work with these groups, but of course the technicality and the work behind it and the knowledge behind it is higher than with a normal garden on the ground. I hope I answered the tricky question.
Yeah, I think so. I think too, maybe you could also add, like, what are the types of, especially working with populations that are often marginalized, like persons with disabilities, what are the types of like skill sets, or what are the types of experiences that you have seen working with the hydroponic system has brought them? Is it purely about production? Are you finding that they're also really enjoying the process? Like, what is that like in your experience?
So of course it depends on what is the spectrum of the disability. Of course, when it's only mobility, then it's mostly people that already had a garden and are very passionate about the gardens and know a lot about cultivation, and they just want to do it again, but with the tools that they have. There are other collectives that it's a good thing to do repetitive things like planting, like harvesting. We also challenge them a little bit more in some cases where we do them weight the production, or we make them write down the consumption of water, so they are aware that we're using water and how much water, and how the system works. And then we also do other activities like showing them what the fauna and is in regards to these type of gardens, so what they can find. We take pictures of the animals or the insects, or so there are many skills that we try to provide, not only directly related to planting and harvesting, but also expanding a little bit more.
Super. So it also sounds like the gardens provide a therapeutic benefit. So they're not just about production and creating social interactions, but also helping with.
Yeah, it is the main part of the gardens are to provide a space of nature in the city, because nature is therapeutic for people, and also to provide an activity that they feel they're giving some profit back to the community, which is something that the Institute of People with Disabilities says. It's not what I say. I haven't done the study, but what we actually do with the production is they take some of it, they take home, but when it's too much production, they bring it to shelters, or they bring it to open comedores, I don't know the name now, to canteens, open canteens, I don't know.
Yes,
so they're actually doing a social work there themselves. So this is all actually something that helps them also to feel like they're giving back.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Our next question is for Silvana and Josean. So we got into this maybe a little bit, started to with the first question, but there's a lot of talk about biomaterials nowadays. But do you think we are surfing the sort of biomaterials wave, like that people are animated about this now because it's a bit more trendy? Or do you think that this is a change that's really here to stay? And if so, what are certain political conditions, apart from the social condition of helping people be more aware, that you think we need in order to promote the use of biomaterials as an alternative to traditional plastics and polymers?
Well, definitely, I think I agree with the thing that it's something new, and when something new comes out, everyone wants to be inside and know more, and they're curious about this, and of course, and it's gonna be a moment where this is not gonna be new, and people will split into some other things. But we really believe in this as a solution, because when we go out and we observe nature, what we see is this exactly. So biomaterials is not being invented by any of us, is being invented by nature, because it's a production of how the circular materiality of nature works. And we're just learning from it and trying to apply it to our needs. So yes, I think that it's a very interesting solution that has to be really much research. I mean, we have to put lots of energy on this, and we will probably get things that we can't even imagine. Now we have like some solutions that we were trying. I mean, I say we, but there's a lot of people working with biomaterials and trying to apply to real products and things, but it's not easy because the competitors are materials that are being present in our society during decades, and it's not easy to shift into something new like this. But yes, as I was saying before, we have to put energy on both sides. On one hand, we have to research and find new solutions, and on the other hand, we have to show what is evident is that we've been creating a huge problem for next generations, and we have to stop with it. We have to close the sink as soon as possible. And well, this is not easy to do, but I mean, everyone knows this. I mean, I'm not saying anything new, but it doesn't look, I mean, we are here now in a fair of plastics and chemistry. And what we see today in 2023 is the same materials, the same machines, the same intensity of selling, you know? So it doesn't look like anything is changing in terms of the market. So there's a lot of things to do, and there's a lot of work to do for people like us, no? But I mean, it's not easy, but we can't stop. We have to carry on because, yeah, we have a daughter and we always think about her, but it's not only our daughter. I mean, probably the problem will go much farther. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And that's an interesting insight. I'm kind of I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I guess I'm a bit not surprised that at the fair you're at, there aren't more different types of innovations that are starting to move away from these types of materials that we've just been using for the past, well, since the Industrial Revolution and the past century of the rise and continuous rise of plastic. But thank you for being on the forefront of this and for keeping pushing on, as you said. Hopefully we'll continue to see the more implementation of biomaterials and bioplastics in different ways. Thank you for that. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit. Well, not too much because we're wrapping up. And I just wanted to go with a quick recap. So we heard from Gaia Di Martino earlier from the New Production Institute, who's investigating apple pomace and how it could be utilized for different types of materials, how we can use chemistry to extract elements and work on the creation of materials like cardboards or foams or fiber reinforced polymers. We've heard from Veronica Arcas of Tectum Garden, where their team is looking at many different ways to implement urban agriculture in different types of contexts for different uses for different populations. And lastly, we've heard from Silvana Catazzini and Josean Villar from Knife Factory, who have gone on a biomaterials journey and are now working with Cibico to use biomaterials in graphic design in places like the Design Hub here in Barcelona. So thank you to this amazing group of speakers for taking the time to be with us today. And I do want to mention that we really want to keep the conversation going about these topics. We don't want it to just stop here now in this webinar. So for that reason, we'll be sharing this webinar in our newly published Food Tech 3.0 Git book, where you can also read more about initiatives like Knife Factory, Gaia's work, and Tectum Garden. And we also encourage you to keep talking to one another. And one of the spaces to do that is now a new space that's being hosted by the Distributed Design platform that unites different creatives and designers to talk about all different types of projects. And there is a channel completely dedicated to food. So if you're interested in connecting with other interested minds on how food technology can really be changing the way that we are transforming the food system, we encourage you to connect there. We do have one next webinar coming up that will be focused on business and food technology and different methodologies or different approaches that food tech initiatives are taking, and that will be announced coming up. So thank you all to our participants. It's been a pleasure to have you with us today, and thank you again to our speakers. Ta-ta!
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you all.